Life took a bit of a turn when my son was born. My marriage broke up and I was a mess, and I left the university to start my own little graphic art business. I was actually starting to get freelance jobs with the newspaper and different advertising agencies, and so I had started this little business, and one of the other artists and I were going to go in and work together on it. He was just a fabulous technical guy, and we got along like $1 million, and we were going to start our own little studio. And it was around that time, you know, that I started to draw individual cartoons about the pregnancy. I mean, I have to go back now to a step. I had my little boy. My marriage had broken down, but while I was expecting my little boy, I was working for Dr. Enkin, Murray Enkin, who was head of obstetrics at McMaster, and he had me do loads of cartoons above the examining tables. I complained that, you know, you go there for an exam and they leave you half dressed and you've got nothing to do but wait. And I said, Murray, at least you could put something on the ceiling above the examining tables. And he said, well, you're the cartoonist, I challenge you to do some cartoons. So by the time Aaron was born, I had done about 80 cartoons. And Murray loved these cartoons. He copied them and gave them to all the other obstetricians, and lots of obstetricians had them on their ceilings. And I was getting a lot of feedback from nurses and doctors and others saying how much they liked them, which of course gives you the incentive to do more. So I was thrilled. Every time I went in for an exam, there'd be another 5 cartoons, and everybody'd say, oh, what did you bring us this time, right? So forward again, I'm on my own little house, baby advertising agency starting up in my greenhouse on the side of the house. And I was poor and miserable, and my phone rang. And it was my doctor, Murray Enkin. And he said, what are you doing tonight? And I said, well, not a whole lot. He said, why don't you come over for dinner and bring the baby? And I thought, your obstetrician is inviting you over? I mean, really, I was still in awe of all of the top medical personnel. You know, with an MD beside your name, there's a certain cachet to that, right? I thought, here's my doctor inviting me for dinner. So I took the kiddo, and I'm getting up the porch stairs, knocking on the door, and Murray's wife, Eleanor, opened the door, and there was Murray sitting in his living room with all of my cartoons and a big fan around him, and he had a bottle of champagne, and he popped the cork, and he said, kid, you got a book. So he had taken all of the cartoons that I had done and put them in order as I had gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And we sat down and looked at them, and there were 80. And he said, let's make it 101. Let's find a publisher, and let's get this book out. So the book came out. It was called David We're Pregnant. My ex, his name was Doug, and I didn't want to use that name. And I thought David is a nice name, and it rhymes. It sort of flows with We're Pregnant. So it was called David We're Pregnant, and it did really well. The book sold really well. There was nothing else like it out there on the market.